So guys, before we start this video, be sure to quickly go down to my channel and press subscribe. We've got a new video coming out tomorrow, and if you haven't seen it already, check out the video I released yesterday, which is part 2 of my Exoprimal tutorial. And with that, let's get right into the video. Enjoy. So Exoprimal has been out for quite a while now, and it's actually just had a massive title update. Let's quickly break down what exactly that title update is and what it includes. So the title update that was released today is added a new variant of every single exosuit, and these variants are called Alpha Variants. Each variant has basically just added a new fire mode to every exosuit, which actually has made a massive difference as to how these exosuits work. Let's go through every single exosuit and have a look as to what's been changed and if that's made the exosuit better, worse, or it's just different. You'll see what I mean when I get into the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's get started. So we'll start off with the Assault class, and the first exosuit is Deadeye. So Alpha Deadeye works a bit differently to how normal Deadeye works. Normal Deadeye had quite a consistently full auto machine gun that was really good at medium or long ranges. Alpha Deadeye, however, has two new fire modes. If you don't aim in, it's a shotgun, but if you do aim in, it's a burst rifle that fires 5-round bursts. This actually really improves Deadeye, I think, so I'm going to classify this as better, because it means that the exosuit has far more versatile coverage, and the shotgun is actually extremely powerful, meaning that for the bigger dinosaurs, it actually makes a big difference to how much damage you can do in a short amount of time, especially if you can target someone like the head of a Carnotaurus. Next up, Zephyr. So we all knew that Zephyr was originally a glass cannon, who mainly hit melee attacks, so it was really difficult to justify using Zephyr against larger dinosaurs as they generally just get absolutely decimated the second they got within a meter. The good thing about Alpha Zephyr is that it actually doesn't have to be constricted to those classifications anymore, because they've got a new primary attack, which actually isn't quite as close range as it was before. What happens is Zephyr throws chakrams at its opponents, and it throws them in exactly the same combination that it would normally do melee hits in, but the chakrams are actually incredibly accurate and they go about, I'd say, short to medium range. They won't go anywhere for long range, or don't try and target those far away snipers, but they are very useful at getting rid of the bigger dinosaurs as well as taking care of crowds, because they do go through enemies and they do a massive amount of damage, especially if you can get those precision hits in. I'm going to say that this makes Zephyr definitely better, as their new chakram attacks are useful up close or at range and do a lot more damage if you're precise. They're also useful for the smaller and the bigger dinosaurs, so you've got a lot more range there than what you could originally target. Next up, Barrage. So Barrage is a weird one. Barrage was a fairly complete exosuit originally, but now it's just a bit different. Let me explain. So the primary weapon used to be a grenade launcher, which is fairly rapidly firing, which meant you needed to be reloading fairly often. Nowadays, its primary weapon in the alpha mode is a chargeable rocket launcher, which does a lot more damage in a focused area. It takes longer to charge up and to fire. I would say this doesn't make it better or worse, but it definitely makes it different, because it's far more precise and can deal with further away enemies. However, charging up does take time, and reloading has also been increased, which obviously isn't a problem if you've got the reload dodge perk, which I do. I'd highly recommend you equip that because it turns this exosuit into an absolute monster. Lastly, we have Vigilant. Last and definitely least of the Assault class, we have Vigilant. Vigilant was the sniper class of Exoprimal, which is a shame because as a sniper its class was actually quite good, but the issue is that Exoprimal isn't really about finding a point to sit and sniping. It's about constantly moving, staying close to the dinosaurs and dealing with large hordes of enemies. And the only weapons that Vigilant really had that could deal with those large hordes of enemies was stuff like its freeze ability and the railgun, and they are on long recharge times. Now, with the Alpha Vigilant, its primary weapon is just changed to a semi-automatic rifle. I'm actually going to say that it makes Vigilant more usable, but worse at fulfilling the actual sniper role that Vigilant's supposed to fulfill. The whole point of having a sniper in a game like Exoprimal is it can deal with bigger dinosaurs, but the problem with Vigilant being a semi-automatic rifle now rather than a sniper character is that it just doesn't do the same amount of damage in a short period of time, because you have to repeatedly land headshots, and that's much harder on a dinosaur that's thrashing around than it would be on a stationary target with a sniper in one shot. It's much more difficult to use against regular dinosaurs as well because you have to land consistent shots. That's it for assaults, but let's go over to the tank class and see what they've changed over there. So coming up first with the tank class, we have Roadblock. Roadblock was an absolutely solid exosuit, almost all around to start with, but now he's actually somehow even better. What they've done with Roadblock is they've made his shield placeable. You can also shatter that shield manually whenever he feels like it for massive damage. The shield also recharges quite quickly, so you can do this repeatedly, and you can even leave the shield there and then taunt dinosaurs to shatter it for even more damage. This makes Roadblock much better, but also less accessible, because his ability to place a shield means that his shield is automatically more situational, which means that you really have to strategize and pick and choose your moments as to when to use it. I do think this still makes him better though, because it just means that he's even better for those corridor situations that he was already amazing at. And it works a lot better when he's being swarmed, so now he almost fills Krieger's role as well. Moving on, there's Krieger. So, Krieger. Krieger was never particularly good in my opinion anyway, but now he's actually even worse. Let me explain. So Krieger used to have a minigun, and it was basically his only asset because he can lay down a consistent amount of fire on dinosaurs. Alpha Krieger has a shotgun, and it's not even a good shotgun. It's a very slow firing, fairly low damage weapon that you have to be almost exactly right next to enemies for it to make any difference at all, but you can charge it, and when you charge it, it effectively pushes back a group of enemies that will do more damage when they hit other enemies, but the problem is it just takes too long to charge. It basically means that he's ineffective at dealing with any more than one dinosaur, and that's almost completely useless because Krieger's whole thing is he's supposed to be a tank character. He's supposed to be good at dealing with groups of enemies. So I'd say Krieger is definitively worse as an alpha. Moving on, we have my favourite tank, Murasame. Murasame, my favourite. So Murasame was already my favourite exosuit because I just think that they have a really useful skill set for dealing with large dinosaurs that can also be applied to dinosaurs of any size, crowds, or anything else in the game. Alpha Murasame is somehow even better because the block ability that they once had has been translated to a block that doesn't deal damage, but it does freeze everything, and it's quite actually a large area around him. It's almost like a better version of Vigilant's freeze ability. I think it actually makes Murasame far more useful as a team player because the damage that he used to do was very much selfish, as in it would just be him fighting a large dinosaur and the rest of the team could do their thing. But now he can freeze groups of small dinosaurs and other players can target them, so he actually makes other players' jobs a lot easier. I think this makes him far better, and I think it makes him far more viable and easy to use as well because it also takes far less damage to charge up this block rather than the large amount you needed before. And with that being said, let's move on to support. It's been pretty mixed as to which alphas have improved the original exosuits and which haven't. So let's see if that changes at all when we get to the support class. So starting off in support, we have Alpha Witch Doctor. And Witch Doctor was already, in my opinion, the most accessible exosuit due to its incredibly easy to understand healing abilities. But now it's even better because the primary attack the Witch Doctor uses now also heals. It used to be just a stun weapon, but it's now changed to be a consistent beam, which both damages and stuns dinosaurs, as well as healing allies. It also seems that its secondary ability, which heals an ally for a significant amount of health, now has a longer range. And I think that's a really good thing because it did seem a little limited before. I think that Witch Doctor was definitively better as an exosuit, as the staff is a far more effective healing tool that enables fast and consistent healing than it was before, because you had to rely almost purely on Witch Doctor's abilities. Moving on, the next one is a little more complicated. Let's go to Alpha Skywave. Alpha Skywave. This one's a little more complicated. So Skywave originally was a hybrid area control and healer character, but now I feel like with the Alpha update, they've moved almost entirely over to area control, and I think that's a good thing. I can't definitively say that Skywave is a better exosuit than they were before, because they haven't really upgraded, they just changed completely. See, what Skywave staff used to do was it used to heal allies and damage enemies, but now it doesn't heal allies at all, and it just brings down lightning, and you can even charge it for a focused bolt. This pairs incredibly well with its gravitational ability as well, and it means that you can basically take advantage of the map manipulation that Skywave was already capable of in order to create some really unique situations that are incredibly useful for your teammates. I'd say it's far better, but that's just because I prefer the map manipulation aspect of Skywave. If you prefer the healer, you'll probably say worse, so I'm going to say that it's not better or worse, it's just different. It was a difficult healer to use anyway, and it feels much more suited to a pure area manipulation role, in my opinion anyway. Last, let's go over to Nimbus. Right, Nimbus. Nimbus is regarded as either the best or the worst healer, depending on how you play. For me, Nimbus is always the worst, but for most, they love him. Nowadays, after the Alpha variants released today, I actually prefer Nimbus to either of the other two if I'm going to play a healer. Nimbus's pistols have been swapped out for shotguns, which basically means that Nimbus has gone from a very average damage dealer to an incredibly powerful damage dealer up close, and that actually perfectly suits Nimbus's skill set because they're an incredibly dexterous exosuit. It's always been capable of weaving in and out of the enemies when it was healing. Now it can deal damage, it's almost lethal and almost essential part of your Exoprimal team. I would say far better. It's much easier to aim, and the shotguns do a massive amount of damage to all enemy types. And it also seems that its healing abilities have been improved as well, as the closer you are to allies, the more healing you do. So that's my analysis on the recent title update for Exoprimal. Let me know if you played it down below. What do you think of the Alpha variants? Have you unlocked any of them yet? Let me know. Anyway, with that being said, remember to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.